Hello, welcome to Mark Chatterton's Rock Files YouTube channel with your host, Mark Chatterton. Today, I would like to welcome onto the show John Reid, who was the guitarist and vocalist with the group Strife. Strife were one of the hardest working bands in the 70s, releasing 2 albums and having a large following, but never quite hitting the big time. John was also in the Liverpool's 60s psychedelic group, the Klubs, who had a reputation for being quite wild on stage. So it'll be quite interesting to hear what John has to say about his time with these 2 groups and what he has been doing since then. So a warm welcome to you, John.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. And thank you, whoever watches this, thank you very much.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll get a few people listening in and watching it because, as I said, Strife had quite a good big following in the 70s. Going back to your early days, you're from Birkenhead originally,
Yeah.
and you grew up there. What were your main sort of musical influences in before you became a musician, would you say?
It started when my sister, who was a year older than me, used to go and watch this beat group, as my dad called them, called the Beatles. And they played a lot of youth clubs in Birkenhead. And she used to hang around with them. They used to come to our house. It was just like any young girl following, an unknown band at the start. Yeah. Anyway, when the Beatles became famous, virtually every young lad on Merseyside wanted to play the guitar. So I picked up a guitar when I was about 14 and just started to learn to play. And then at probably 15, when I was at school, there was a schoolboy band called the Klubs, and a couple of lads were in my class, and they knew I played guitar, and they asked me would I like to join. So of course I said yes, I'll give it a go, and I joined and took it from there. Really, we played a lot, and when I was 16, 1964, there used to be a pirate radio station on a ship moored off the Isle of Man called Radio Caroline. And they used to run an international competition every year on the Isle of Man for groups. So we entered this competition and we only knew 3 songs. And so we went to the Isle of Man, we played these 3 songs. Cut a long story short, we won this competition. The trophy was presented by Jimmy Savile. All of Granada TV were there, and they then put us on the TV and everything. We also got a chance to record in, I think it was Decca or Pi, can't remember. Anyway, we progressed from there, and we obviously thought it was serious. But I still did. I was at art school. I went to art school, and then while I was at art school, I turned 18, I turned professional because the band was doing a lot more work. The whole music scene for groups was just getting bigger and bigger by the day. Lots of groups coming out. And that was it, really. And then the clubs played all over the country and the continent for, till probably 69, 70. And during that time, the owners of the Cavern took us on. They were our managers. So we played the Cavern so many times. There's so many documented, but there's probably more that were undocumented because they used to ring us up, the owners, and say, such and such hasn't turned up, can you come tonight? And we'd go and play. And it was good. We played with everybody there under the sun, from Chuck Berry, Wishbone Ash when they had homemade guitars, Status Quo when they were trying to get rid of pictures of Matched Up Men image, all the big soul stars, Benny King, all them. And it was really a good time to be in music. And then two of the members of one member of the band left first, and then another member left, and it went down to a 3-piece. But it was just me on the guitar, the drummer, and the singer. So I taught the singer how to play bass. We ended up as a three-piece. That only lasted maybe a year or so, because it just wasn't as good as it used to be with a five-piece. So then Strife used to come along to the Cavern and play as well. Just one night out of the blue, I was talking to Gordon, and he said, "Would you like to come and join us?" Because he knew I wasn't happy anymore, just with the three-piece. And I'll tell you this now, the main reason for that was I didn't like being lead guitar. Because all the time I was in the clubs, the lead guitarist, a guy called Trevor Griffiths, I thought he was brilliant. And I was only ever the rhythm guitarist. But I was also, writing songs, and Trevor and the bass player, Noz, they were writing songs. But by this time I'd written quite a few songs. So Gordon said, "Come and join us, bring the songs, give it a go." And I was joining as a second guitarist. Again, because the guitarist, they had a guitarist, Pete Trotter. He was brilliant. And I thought, well, yeah, give it a go. Then, after about 2 or 3 months playing there, Pete Trotter, the lead guitarist, he left. So once again, I was thrown in to play lead guitar, which by this time I thought it was somebody was trying to sell me something here, but I never wanted to be a lead guitarist as such. Because I never thought I was good enough, and I was not one of these people who could practice. As far as I could have a life, I didn't want to sit there practicing. I can remember just diverting from that when we used to play with UFO and we used to play together because we were both on Christmas and stuff. Michael Schenker used to sit in the dressing room for an hour and a half before he went on, just playing scale after scale after scale. I mean, he was brilliant. Let's face it, it's absolutely brilliant. But I could never do that. I'd have been so bored. Well, anyway, so in Strife, at one point I said, let's try and find a lead guitarist. So again, we found a really good lead guitarist, a guy called Vic Papaleo. And I thought it was great. I thought the band was great as a four-piece. And we did a series of gigs. Now, this is strange because whenever Strife went, 99 times out of 100, we used to get an encore. People used to want more. And for the first 3 nights, when Vic played with us, we never got an encore. And I thought, there's something strange here. So I can remember it like yesterday, this particular thing, because it was so sad. We were playing Reading University, and I said to Vic, don't come on to it. I just want to test something out. Anyway, Vic didn't come on, and we got encore after encore after encore. I don't know what it was. Maybe 4 people on the stage took away some of the charisma, altered the sound slightly to the point where it wasn't as raw or dynamic or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so from that point on, I said, okay, this is it. It's going to be a 3-piece.
Yeah.
And that was it, really.
Yeah.
So Strife, from that sort of day, was Strife from there forward.
Because one of the things you used to do in Strife was get on the your amps at the end and go a bit wilder, and that was that something that you actually did in the clubs as well before then?
I don't think I did in the clubs because I never used to have amplifiers big enough in the clubs.
All right,
we never really had stacks in the clubs.
No.
As such, and again, because there was maybe there was 5 of us. Originally, there was 6 of us. We used to have a harmonica called Alan Walker. So it was all a bit crowded. And Paddy, the singer, he was the main man. He was the front man, brilliant front man. And it was all a big show. So there was no need for me to single myself out to do anything like that. It was just a moment of madness one night playing with Strife. I can't remember the first night I did it. I just literally ran to my stack and I actually scrambled up the front of it somehow. On the top, and I don't know how I did it. And, of course, the crowd went wild. Then I leapt off and that was it. So from then on, I used to set it up so that I had a little bit of along the side. I put an extra cab.
Yeah.
I'd make more or less steps so I could get up quicker, but I'd still leap off.
Yeah.
That's why I've had my knees replaced now. 15 years of jumping off a stack.
Yeah.
Not do my knees any good.
No.
But yeah, you know, I mean, I have to say to this day, I can't honestly say I've seen anybody else do it.
No,
I've seen acrobatics and stuff like that on stage with guitars, but I haven't actually seen anybody actually do that jump and do that standing on the top.
Yeah.
But, you know, I might be doing, you know, people will probably say, oh yeah, so-and-so does it or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, it was just a part of the act, and it was just part of the finale. I mean, Rush was such a journey as a song. I mean, we jammed that out over years and years, and we built it, and it just added to the whole, you know, theatre of that particular track.
Yeah. So going back to the clubs, a lot of the time you actually wore makeup, like a bit like, say, Arthur Brown and so on. That was part of your act. And there's a story that a couple of guys from New York came to watch you, and they eventually became the New York Dolls. Is there any truth in that?
There's a lot of truth in that, because you know, despite what anybody says, I'll probably again, when the club started wearing makeup, I didn't know of any other band. Don't forget, we're talking early 60s here, 64, 65. And we had the Rolling Stones and the Pretty Things and the Beatles and all these bands. There was nobody on the scene wearing makeup or being outrageous like that. They were all, you know, fairly straight musicians and everything else. And yeah, we were playing, I can't remember where it was in London. I think it was Tiles, used to be called Tiles. And yeah, it happened there. It was our bass player, and he was talking to them, and it was them in the end. But you know, people copied. I don't know. Again, there might have been somewhere in the world doing it as well, but we didn't copy them. But you know, we just did it because, again, just theatre really. Music in them days. You know, it's not like today where you can make a video and you can create some theatre with a video to go with music that you're playing. In them days, it had to come from you. Yeah. I'll tell you another quick story. About, you know, on this business of theatre and presence and everything, we used to play 4, 5, 6 nights, 7 nights a week, always on the road. And we turned up, tired as hell, to Oxford University one day. One evening, or one afternoon it was. And there was a big Rolls Royce and a big truck, a big Arctic, and we come trundling along in our car and in our transit van or whatever we had at the top, or 5-ton truck, it would have been probably. But, you know, the roadies, and we come in, and there's this massive stage set up with umbrellas, keyboards, everything. And I sort of wandered in and looked. And one of the lads said, "We won't be a minute. I said, all right, no problem, we're fine, whatever. But anyway, I was just wandering around, and then I saw the poster for the night, and it said Strife plus Supertramp. This big.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd never heard of it, but this was their promotional tour for Crime of the Century album.
Yeah.
And you know, I was chatting to the lads in the changing room, like we do, and they went on stage, and I had a listen. I thought, lovely songs, but everybody in the room left to go to the bar because nothing was happening on that stage. Yeah. Despite all the there was no personality on that stage. Nobody was. They just didn't want to just sit there and listen to the songs. Yeah. They want more at a live show. Mm. And I've always thought that, you know, that was it. Of course, Supertramp went on to be huge, as we all know, and I'm sure they actually created their own theatre after that when they got the confidence. But on that night, they blew it. You know, they just, we came on, everybody comes out the bar, the whole place goes mad, and it was a show. Yeah, you know? Yeah. But, you know, Supertramp, just, they are there where they are. I'm here. Sit down. Yeah. You know, but that's life.
That's life. Yeah. Because I also read that you had Don Arden. Don Arden was the manager of the Klubs at one time, and you wanted to change your name, and you refused, and he just tore up the contract.
Yeah. Don Arden, again, there was a lot of people who wanted the Klubs when we were starting to get a big reputation, and people wanting to sign us, people wanting to manage us, etc., etc. And Don Arden was one of them. Yeah, that was just after we won that competition, so it was in the very early days.
Yeah.
And that was all part and parcel was going to Decca and doing this test recording and everything. And he wanted to take us on. And yeah, he kept us waiting. Must have been for an hour and a half, 2 hours in his outer office. Then he comes out and said, "I can't see you today." And we just all stood up and said, "What?" He said, "I can't see you today." And we said, "Well, we're not coming back. So if you want to talk to us, you talk to us now." So anyway, back into the office. And then he laid down all these rules and we just said, forget it. And that was it. And he says, "Well, nobody tells me to forget it." I said, "Well, we just have." And he said, "Well, you'll never play in London again." I said, "Fair enough. That's the way it is." But, we weren't threatened. We were 5 lads from Merseyside. We don't threaten easy.
Yeah.
And he just didn't understand it. He thought we were just going to bow down and do everything we wanted to do, which we never ever did and never would do.
No.
I think that was part of the downfall of Strife as well, because we never ever had a manager until about the last 18 months of our career. We had people in the business who we liked, who used to help us and do things, but we never ever had a manager as such.
Did that incident put you off having a manager, would you say, perhaps?
Well, I think it's just the feeling of being manipulated that we didn't really want. And I'll just go, I hope you don't mind me diverting to things, but this also happened when we went to America. The first time we went there, we went because virtually all the record labels in the UK were all just basically ignoring us.
Yeah.
So we said, "Oh, we'll go to America." Paul, the drummer, had friends who would put us up over there and vouch for us. Because in them days, it was so difficult to get a visa to go to America.
Yeah.
It took in the early 70s. And me and Gordon had been naughty boys, so we had a bit of a criminal record, probably for scrapping and stuff like that, which you can't help when you come from Merseyside. You find something somewhere along the line. So we only got a 2-week visa. They'd only give us a 2-week visa. So we went and we were doing rehearsal rooms and stuff like that, just to play. And we were at one of these rehearsal rooms, and Toto was in the next rehearsal room. And next minute, we go, because I'm jumping the gun here, because we were in those rehearsal rooms because of Edwin Starr.
Yeah, because he'd seen you in Liverpool, hadn't he?
Seen us at the Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
He wanted to record Magic of the Dawn. So we went to London, we did the backing for Magic of the Dawn with him. He then got called back to America and said, "Look, if you ever come to America, just look me up and we'll carry on from there." But it wasn't long afterwards, maybe 6 months. And we said, "Well, let's go to America. We'll hook up with Edwin and see what's happening."
Okay, right.
So when we met Edwin in LA, he took us to his house, and then he took us to Motown because they had a rock label called Rare Earth. And he said, "Let's see if we can get you a deal down there." And then that's why we went to the rehearsal rooms, because while we were in there, Arden Taylor was in the office, because he was a Motown artist.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And he really liked the demos that we had with us. So anyway, in these rehearsal rooms, somebody came from an agency called the William Morris Agency, which was probably the biggest agency in the world. They used to represent Clint Eastwood, Elizabeth Taylor, and they just lost Grand Funk Railroad because they were good. And they wanted us to be the next 3-piece replacement for Grand Funk Railroad. So we said, "Oh, that's fantastic, great." So we went the next morning. They'd had all the contracts drawn up and everything. And they went on about how we were going to do this, go here, do that, do there. And I said, wait a minute. We've only got a 2-week visa. We won't be going anywhere. We won't be able to do any of this. We can't, And they said, well, we can offer you $50,000 each or whatever it was to stay. I said, it doesn't really matter. We can't stay.
Yeah.
So he said, well, you have to go back to the UK. We'll sort a new visa. And I said, well, okay, well, that's all we can do, really. We can't do much else. But when we came out of our office, I said, I don't like this. I actually don't like being, I felt like a puppet. I said, they were going to take over our life.
Mm.
And I'd heard so many stories of people, being controlled and being under contract for years and years and years. And I said, I'm not really keen on this. But anyway, after that, Chrysalis got in touch and we signed the record deal with Chrysalis.
Yeah, so you signed with Chrysalis.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying about being manipulated.
Yeah, but Arden Taylor still did the production on your first album.
Yeah, we became very friendly with Dean, but mainly because Dean was nothing like us. He was a very, very straight, normal guy. And his 2 hits, Indiana Wants Me and Gotta See Jane, they were massive hits. And him and Jane, his wife, they were lovely people. They got on well. And he just had a knack of obviously making hits. In America, hits the king, that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
They made us, while we were there, they also made us go and record this song called Rock and Roll Heaven. And we were playing it and we were looking at each other and going, this is And anyway, again, to cut a long story short, we didn't proceed with that. And I think it was either the Isley Brothers or something like that got to number 8 in America with it.
Yeah.
Months later. So we were wrong again, but we couldn't have. It would have been our matchstick men if we'd have done that.
Yeah. So there's your first album, Rush, came out. I bought it almost straight away, but I must confess, when I first heard it, I thought, this isn't you, because there was all these strings and backing singers and brass on it, and the production obviously was R.D. Taylor, and he didn't sort of quite understand that you were a heavy rock band, really, did he?
No, well, you know what, sometimes I listen back to that album and I think it made the songs sound completely different. Well, I thought in a good way. Gordon didn't like a lot of it at all. But I actually thought, well, this is like nothing else.
Yeah.
Could have just done a 3-piece heavy rock Cream album. And I think it might have just been, either compared to Cream or similar bands. But I thought this just took us apart a little bit. I was quite happy with it because, again, Rush, the title track, that wasn't touched by any of that.
No, that was more basic, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was just some of the other songs, but I don't know. It was because when you got, I realized now that when I used to write songs, I would be writing purely and simply with this picture in my head of us playing it live.
Yeah.
Not for people to sit and listen to in a chair like this. And that's where I either went wrong. I didn't go wrong from the live point of view, but I think I went wrong from an album point of view. So on the second album, I think I was more or less trying to get between the two, trying to get the album to be a bit more listenable, but still rocky enough to be Strife.
Yeah.
I often wonder which way I would have gone had I carried on writing and done more albums. I've often wondered where I would have gone.
Yeah.
Because I never did it. But, it was an interesting time, really, trying to write stuff to be different. But I don't know what you think, but when I listen back to Rush and back to Thunder, I don't think very few of the songs sound the same.
No, they all sound differently, definitely, yeah.
And that was my aim, I didn't want it to be just. I mean, I can listen to some bands, and you can say, oh yeah, you can more or less predict what they're going to do. I was watching a Dire Straits thing on the telly the other night, and after about half an hour, I thought I was still listening to the same song. To be honest,
Yeah.
Such a distinct style,
Yeah.
and his vocal intonation and his guitar playing. And I felt it was all too samey for me. And that was my opinion, But once again, that's where he is, and this is where I am. So,
yeah.
Wrong again.
Yeah.
But no, that was the idea anyway.
Yeah. Getting back to Arden Taylor, there's a question I've always wanted to ask you, because in August 1974, you did this big gig at Ellesmere Port Football Club, an outside sort of one-day festival thing, and it was all billed with Arden Taylor as headline, you second, and then Parachute third. And on the day, Arden Taylor didn't show. Was that because he didn't come over, or was it just like a publicity thing to try and get more people in, or what?
Yeah, the Ellesmere Port gig was really just a local thing that because Gordon lived in Ellesmere Port.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and I think I think Dean was coming over on the tour, because I think he got that hit Ghost in My House at about the same time.
Right. Yeah.
And I think because we'd had the album out, people had heard it. And I think it was just like, because people had heard him from Ghost in My House, we thought it'd be nice for him to appear. He was there.
Yeah.
He was there, but he didn't perform.
He didn't perform, right? Okay.
I think he introduced us. I think.
Did he? Yeah, I can remember that far back. Yeah.
I think he was the compere for the show.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
No, it wasn't to get more people in. Because,
no, I just wondered. Yeah, because I don't remember him being there on the day. That was the thing. Yeah. Yeah.
I've got photographs of him there on the day. I know that.
Yeah. All right. So he was around. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because you must have played over the years quite a few big venues. I think you played the Rainbow supporting Baker Gervit's army, and played the Roundhouse in London, played the Marquee quite a few times. And which sort of would you say were your favourite venues that you played?
Well, I used to like all the venues mainly, because quite often I'd like sit down audiences that used to in a theatre, mainly acoustics, and everybody was focused on what you were doing. And because we were visual, that suited me and us.
Yeah.
And in the same breath, there was nothing better than having, loads and loads of people right up to the front, pushing against the stage and everything. Or like the Nottingham Boat Club, they were all right up against the front.
Yeah.
Marquee, they were all up against the front. Again, I'll tell you a little story about the Marquee. A guy called Jack Barry, I think his name was. He used to run the Marquee or own it or whatever. And nobody was ever, he was from Wallasey on the Wirral.
Yeah.
He was adamant that nobody could ever put a backdrop up
the
Marquee and cover the Marquee name. But guess who did? But we said to him, listen, Jack, we're putting the thing up, stop us if you want to. And he just looked at it, oh, go on, the only band ever to put our backdrop up on the Marquee.
Yeah. Because you also played with Ian Gillan there, didn't you? And you had a surprise visitor at the end.
Yeah, well, I think that was one of the very last gigs that I ever did.
Yeah.
We'd just done the Gillan tour of Europe, and I think it was all Europe, or some UK anyway. And we did. I think it was like a New Year's Eve or something silly like that.
Yeah.
And at that point, Gillan and Richie Blackwell hadn't spoken for a long time. And at the end of on this tour, for some reason, John McCoy, and they used to ask me to come on in their encore and jam. So I used to do that. I used to come out, and John used to lift me up and put me on his shoulders, because I was only, 6 or 7 stone then.
Yeah.
And John was a big guy, he could just lift me up, put me on his shoulder.
A bit like Angus Young with AC/DC.
Yeah, but that was all just, again, a bit of theatre. So I'm up on John's shoulders, and next to this, I'm looking down, and Richie Blackwell's there. And he's jamming. Yeah. And I was a big fan of Richie when I was learning to play, And of course, the whole place went wild. Ian looked, they hugged each other. It was just fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Roadies apparently had organised all this behind the scenes. And that was quite a nice end to my career, really.
Yeah.
I only did 1 or 2 gigs after that.
Yeah.
But it was good.
So unfortunately, with Rush, it didn't sort of make a dent in the charts. I know it was sort of in the Virgin album charts, wasn't it? But not in the national album charts.
No, we didn't. We don't have high hopes for anything like that. Well, honestly, we just used to love to play.
Yeah.
That's all we were interested in. We like to be on the road. We like to play in front of people. And my whole reason for that is you cannot fool those people in that moment.
Yeah.
On an album, you can fool people.
Yeah.
In the press, you can fool people. You can tell people anything in the press. And people already think you're a huge group before they've even seen you, just by press and PR and everything else. But you cannot fool people when they're standing in front of you and you are playing in that moment. And that was always our truth. Strife played, people liked, end of story. Really.
Yeah.
Again, just on that note, I'll just tell you that playing at the Roundhouse. I said the Roundhouse. We did the Roundhouse, and we did a lot of times. And a week after we played the Roundhouse, an article appeared in either the NME or the Music Melody Maker, and it said, Strife were doing really, really well until they set off their flamethrowers. No flamethrowers. Never had flamethrowers anyway. And immediately we had dozens of gigs cancelled.
Yeah.
We can't have flamethrowers in this club, mate. We can't have flamethrowers here. And the agent was going mad because there was no flamethrower. This guy, whoever wrote this, didn't even come to the gig. Right. Somebody had told him, just as a joke, about the flamethrowers. They were never there. But you see what I mean? You see what it can cause? You can change anything with PR. But you can't change anything when they're standing in front of you.
Yeah.
And that's what we were about. So as far as the album went, we could have done better. Could have done loads of things, but it was done because people were constantly saying, haven't you got an album we can buy or live gigs? And that's the main reason for doing it, really. Again, we seem to do everything backwards. We never seem to follow the path that everybody else followed. We just went our merry way, I think.
Yeah. Because you did get a manager towards the end in was it Peter Lister Todd and he got you an album deal for the second album, didn't he?
Yeah, Peter. Now, I'm not sure how it came about with Peter being our manager. I don't know whether it was our agent Paul King who said you really need to get a manager. So we said okay. And Peter was fantastic. He was a photographic agent for people like Lord Snowden. That's what was made it, and he wanted to get into music.
Yeah.
And we got together, and he loved the band, and we liked him. And in fact, I was speaking to him last week. I've just kept in touch with him forever. He's absolutely brilliant. And then I think it was only a few months after he took us on, he took Kate Bush on. So he managed Kate Bush. And of course, it wasn't long after that we gave up anyway. So he went on to do great things with Kate, obviously. But no, I think if we'd have stayed with Peter, or if we'd have kept going, maybe things might have been different. Because he was a very, very, very honest and nice man. Really.
Yeah.
And as I say, I still speak to him now. But it just didn't work out. To be honest with you, once Paul had left, and Dave, who was Paul's drum roadie, Dave Williams was Paul's drum roadie, and once Paul left, nothing was really the same. I mean, Dave was great. He was a good enough drummer. He was, you know, he was a great lad and everything else. But it was like one arm had been ripped off, you know. I don't know why. Again, it must be a magic thing that the three of us had, Lee, Gordon and Paul. Can't explain it, but it just did not feel the same. But, you know, Dave did a great job on the album, the Back to Finger album. Did a great job playing.
Because you had Don Airy playing as well, didn't you, on the album? Don Airy.
Well, I wanted some keyboards on a couple of the tracks, that's all. And again, the studio, that, you know, they said, oh, we can get Don Airy. And I was like, oh, great. You know, oh, what a pianist. You know, fantastic. And I think he enhanced those two tracks he was on anyway. So, you know, but, you know, I'm still happy with both my albums. So, you know, I don't regret any of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because they are what they are. But, you know, and at the time when you do them, that's it. You know, everybody can look back and say, oh, could have done this, or could have done that, you know. But I'm happy with them. I'll listen to them now.
Yeah.
Bits are good, bits are bad. But then again, I can listen to those albums and say the same. You know, very few albums where every track is great, you know.
Would you say that punk sort of helped sort of kill off Strife in the end as well, maybe?
Yeah, it did, because we used to do probably 250 gigs a year on average. And we did that for 7 or 8 years. And then it started to go down and down. The venues were being taken over by punk. A lot of venues were turning just into pure discos and things like that. And we went down to about 100 gigs a year. And it wasn't the same. A lot of the really good venues we used to play weren't putting rock bands on anymore. And I think a lot of bands found the same thing was happening. And I don't think it's ever really come back to its heyday. I might be wrong. I don't know if the 80s had it. I missed the 80s. I was thinking of my kids, you know, so I don't know what happened in the 80s and 90s really. But punk and disco really just maybe, you know, just a one. But you know, there's a lot. I think everything's fate, really, I suppose. You know, I was reaching 30. I just opened my own rock club in Birkenhead.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And my son was born, my first child. Tony, my son, was born. And we had the album out in October. I'm talking about December now. Girls hadn't done any promotion on the album.
No.
I thought, well, you know, what is the point? You know, I mean, once again, I'm reliant on other people.
Yeah.
To get bookings, to promote the album. You know, we did the Gillen tour, and that cost Peter, I think it was at the time maybe £5,000, £7,500 just for us to be able to go on it. It's all back once, and then we got a pittance of expenses just to go and promote the album. And this is the way this is turning.
Yeah.
People getting on, the one who paid the most money is getting on the best tours. You know, if you had a rich manager or a rich record label, they would buy you onto a Zeppelin tour or something like that. You know.
Yeah.
And I once again, I thought, I don't like this. I don't like it. You know, it's not what I want to be. It's not what I want to do. Going back to our own independent selves, you know. So all these things came together, and I think if I'm ever going to give up, now's the time. And you know, I just said, that's it. Don't want to do it anymore. It's not the same as it was. No.
And then you had your club in Birkenhead for a bit, and you had a few off licenses and things like that as well. So yeah. But you did have a reunion tour as such in about the 90s, didn't you? For a few dates.
Not a tour, just one night.
Was it a tour? Just a few dates?
Oh no, just one night.
Just one night. The one at Chester Arena. Yeah.
We just did that one night, which was, you know, it was just to see it was actually curiosity on my part to see whether we could still actually do it.
Yeah, yeah.
I was surprised that we could, to be honest with you.
Mm.
Because I think I was 40 then. I think I was about 40.
Yeah. Mm.
And my son was, 10.
Mm.
And I had daughters as well by then, which was, well, one was too young, but the other one was 8. They wanted to see it. And I had new friends that I'd made in my businesses. We'd never seen Strife, nobody heard of him. They just wanted to see me play. And that was the reason I did it. Just the hell of it, really.
Mm.
But, great to play with Gordon Paul, yeah. They're absolutely fantastic, And I think it went down well. I think it did well.
Mm.
It's, don't want to look backwards, really.
Because unfortunately, there's not much not many films of you. There's just the one at the Watchfield Festival, and that's the only thing that seems to have surfaced. There's nothing else of you on celluloid at all, is there?
No, well, in them days, nobody had cameras.
No, it's just so unfortunate, isn't it? It's such a pity that would have been great to have seen you in your heyday.
You were such a visual band. It's a crime that there wasn't loads of video captured. Even that one, Watchfield, was done by Swindon Television, and it was done on a Sony U-matic tape. It was horrendous to try and get transferred onto a videotape.
Yeah.
Paul managed to do it through a professor at a university somewhere. Managed to transfer it, and that's why the actual filming is so bad.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that even that bit is there,
Yeah, that's something, isn't it? Yeah.
All we've got, after all those performances, that's all we've got. Whereas everybody's filming everything.
Everyone's filming, yeah, that's right, yeah.
We're 30 years too late.
I mean, you've got the live album at the Rocking the Boat. Are there, apart from that, are there anything else that could be released on CD or anything like that you've got in your archives?
No, there's no more tracks now. I mean, the Rocking the Boat album again surfaced because Paul had a tape from the original recording, which was done by Radio Trent.
Yeah.
So, it was properly recorded. So when I listened back to it, I thought, well, it's as good as it can be for a live. So I didn't put it out exactly as it was. I mean, there was some good notes in there. There was some of my singing was a bit off here and there. But that happens when you're live. You're trying to do, scratch your head, rub your tummy, tap your feet, do 1,000 things when you sometimes your concentration wavers from your hands to your voice to your feet to everything. So, very few live albums are perfect. Unless they've been redone in the studio and doctored. That was just as it was on the night.
Yeah.
And so the next thing after that was when Shadow Kingdom Records approached me a few years ago and asked if there was any extra tracks. Well, I'd had these 2-inch tapes from sessions we did in LA, just things that I'd written while I was over there. I used to be able to write a song a day or whatever, and I remember writing some of these on the wardrobe, great big walk-in wardrobe in the hotel, and we just put them down. So I said, well, I've only got these. So Tony, my son, put them in the studio here at home, put them on his stuff, and he remixed them and remastered them, but no extra recordings or anything, just made the sound a little bit better. And I said, you can have them as they are, but they are what they are. Not great songs, not bad songs, but they are what they are.
Yeah.
They are played by me, Gordon Paul. So there's those tracks that went on from those LA tapes. And of course, I put on those CDs for Shadow Kingdom, I put School on Go. Because School had not been on another album, and Go hadn't been on another album. And School was one of my probably favourite tracks that I ever wrote, because I wrote it in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I was so passionate about hating school that it flew out of me. Get out of me. You know, so I love that song, and a lot of people used to like it as well. So, you know, it was a good live song.
Yeah.
And Go, that was like probably the fastest song I've ever written. I mean, it was about 50 odd beats per second. So much so that I heard a couple of years ago that a lot of aerobics classes were using it because it was so fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, people really going. So, you know, but that's it now. I haven't got anything else.
No, there's nothing else.
Well, I've got a few very, very bad live cassette recordings. But
Yeah.
To hear everything at all, they just really are so bad. You know, of songs that we've never put out, which I could make into good songs, you know, if we recorded them, but we're not going down that road. So.
No. But your son, is it Tony? He's sort of following a bit in your footsteps, isn't he? He's recorded a few things and he's done a bit of writing as well, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, Tony's been playing since he was about 18, writing, and he writes some brilliant songs, and he's a really good guitarist. And again, he was knocking on the door. I through contacts I had in America, I ended up taking him to do showcases in LA, Nashville, and New York. And in New York, we did a showcase for J Records when Alicia Keys was at their height. And it came, to put a long story short, it came down to a choice between Tony and Maroon 5. So, and they obviously signed Maroon 5 because Maroon 5 had been going for about 13 years at that time and very much polished that. So I put a band together for Tony to do these showcases in 6 weeks. So obviously the quality wasn't there. But Tony's songs stood up on their own, you know. And he still writes some great stuff now. He's just put a new album out now called On the Count of Nine. And he's got great tracks on it. Great tracks. And they just fly out of it. Plus he does write his books as well. But that's what he is. He's a creative person.
Yeah.
You know, but he doesn't want... He's been in a few bands and he used to enjoy playing, but you know, I don't think, I might be wrong here, but I don't think the opportunities are there now.
No, it's very hard nowadays, isn't it?
You know, to go and play in bars and pubs with people, you know, with their backs to you and stuff like that, it's soul destroying.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They're not the same as when we used to go and play a pub. It was either a big pub and people were there to see the band. They weren't just there for the drink, and the band was like a jukebox in the corner. It's completely different. So Tony doesn't really like that side of it anymore.
No.
But he's happy enough just to write, put some music out and stuff like that. And he does help other people. Just, you know, helps produce some of their tracks.
Yeah.
And, you know, helps them write and stuff like that. And you know, engineer things. So he's happy doing that. It's, you know, that's music.
Right. Well, that's been great listening to you, John, and it's I've learned quite a few more things. I'm sure people listening have enjoyed it, and thank you for all that you've done with Strife over the years, and I'm glad we've got those 3 albums that we can listen to and bring back memories and everything. But thanks very much for doing the interview.
You're very welcome, and I'd say, I mean, I wouldn't have all these memories if it wasn't for all the people that used to come and see us play. And that's, I'll definitely say all through this whole interview. It's all down to playing to people who enjoyed what we do, you know, what we did. We enjoyed giving it back, and that's what it was all about. Just on the final note, I've just heard this week that they put those Rush and Back to Thunder out on this Rock Candy label now in the UK.
Yeah.
With those bonus tracks on.
Yeah.
If people want those CDs and they don't want to pay all the shipping from America, they are now available here as well. But I only found out this one.
Yeah, all right.
I'm the last to know.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks very much then, John. Okay.
All right, Mark. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.